regardless of what function we're carrying, how it's all going, we said we're here for it.
We did.
And we're in it together.
We are.
Well, here we go. Back at it.
We are.
Yeah, I think, how are you today?
I'm great.
Yeah, we just came from the house getting all ready.
I know. I actually had to wash my hair.
Oh, Lord.
For all the women out there listening, you have to be pretty strategic with hair washing.
It's such a hard life. Yeah. Such a hard life. Yeah. I don't understand it. I don't even understand dry shampoo. It's some of the weirdest stuff I've ever.
That's the best thing ever.
I don't even know what it is. Don't understand. But
game changer. Really
excited, I think, for what we're going to talk about today. We kind of, when we came back from sabbatical, we did godly men, godly women.
Mm-hmm. The traits, attributes of them. But today we're going to talk about something that we've done for many years together. Mm-hmm.
I think probably going on, 5?
Yeah. And I think it was one of the questions that we got when we were talking to the staff about how do you determine vision for your family or something along those lines. So this is kind of where this is.
And by the way, to that point, we're running out of things that the staff told us to talk about. So we're just coming up with content.
And so if you don't like it,
if you don't like it, then send us
some
something
ideas.
And we'll talk about it. That's right. But no, this is, I think, really something powerful for couples and a practice that we've had. And really what we want to talk about is how do you create a vision for your marriage and your family. Mm-hmm. And it's a practice that we've been doing, like I said, at least for 5 to 6 years, an actual vision retreat for our family and our marriage. I think we've understood dreaming together for a lot of our marriage. Mm-hmm. But this was a very practical way to help us continue to work on things and get better at stuff that we are weak at. And just make sure that we're aligned and that we're in unity. And so why don't you tell just a little bit about how all this got started, kind of the pain pocket that it came out of, and why it's been so important.
Yeah. So back in 2018, 2017, somewhere around that time, that was when we started intentional work on our marriage and going through marriage counseling that we've talked about frequently with our counselors in Raleigh. And I think what we started to notice is, and we've talked about this before, about how there's things that happened not in between you and I, but things that were happening around us with some of our family that caused us to lose trust in each other. It wasn't anything that you and I did. And so that's kind of what prompted us to start this process. And I think one of the other things that we realized is that at that point, I think we've been married 14, 15 years. Yeah. And in a lot of ways, even though we're very different people, I think for majority of everything, we pretty much are on the same page in a lot of ways. Yeah. I can only think of maybe a few things that we weren't necessarily synced up on. However, when all of the, lack of trust and all that stuff came to the surface, we were like, oh my gosh, we felt like we were far from being on the same page. Woo! And everything was just magnified. And at that point, our counselors were telling us hey, this is kind of like a rhythm we try to keep and encourage other couples to do. Yep. And that is to really set aside some time, work on getting on the same page, dreaming together, putting some things on paper. And then also having some honest conversations about how do we want to, what vision do we have for our family, from everything from conflict management, extended family, in-laws, how do we want to parent, what do we think about where our finances are at, what trips do we want to take? I mean, it's such a big thing, and that unless we set aside intentional time to talk about all the details, then what we were doing was slowly drifting apart. And I think that's you're going to talk about that later on, the slow drift. But so that's how it kind of got started. It definitely started, that habit started out of pain, but it's one of the things that now we do every year.
And it's really one of the most fun times for us. Yeah. Just a few thoughts that I think is important, because I think vision, especially in church world, it gets overplayed. So I think it's important to have vision. I would just say to you is like, we view why these are so important to do these on a regular basis. We do them yearly. Obviously, this podcast is coming out at the first of the year for a reason, so that you guys can have this resource and start the year doing this as a marriage. What I say to you is that what we found in just living life, having kids, the ages and stages that we've had them, and just ourselves getting older, is that marriage seasons change quickly. Like it's really like it's not, so if people ask, what's the vision for your life? That's a really big question. But what I really love to have is a vision for this year, a vision for this next season. And so that's why the consistency of doing it, I think, is really important to marriages and families, because it allows you to make the adjustments that you need to make for the season that you're in. And we'll probably talk through that a little bit more, but there's so many examples that we have of like coming into literally a season, season, and how our lives have to shift just based on that one thing.
Well, and I think that was like one of the key components that we were really missing, is that some of the seasons changing, could be kind of predictable. Like, for us, it was, okay, well, we're getting ready to have a teenager. That's a completely different season than having, littles and toddlers and even elementary. There's other seasons that are very unpredictable, and you don't know all the time that you're coming up on like a seasonal change. Like with what we experienced with some of our extended family, we couldn't have predicted that.
No.
But we were stuck, and we just didn't know how to get back on the same page.
That's right.
So I think, and other times, I think for us now, doing this practice annually, it does kind of help us take a 30,000-foot view and look at the whole year and say, okay, well, we know for us personally, this is just our example, the spring is going to be incredibly busy, having two boys that play baseball. The fall tends to sort of lighten up a little bit, especially now that Wesley's not playing football. But I think so there's actual seasonal changes and that you can plan for. And then those are the circumstances that you can't predict all the time.
And communication is key in those seasons, and having a plan. And one of my favorite thoughts is, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the nose. And so, you have a plan. And
wasn't that a boxer that said that?
Yeah, it was great. Everybody has a strategy. I don't know, but it's something like that. It was good until you get punched in the nose. And as far as I know, we haven't punched each other in the nose. We've come close.
Might have started throwing some plates or utensils at each other.
Ooh, the confession. Lauren just confessed. Early on in our marriage, she threw a plate at me.
That's not my finest moment.
It was not her finest moment, but I just really appreciate that she admitted that on a podcast for all the people listening out there. Thank you. Well, let's just live into that moment.
You don't have to harp on it.
I will continue to harp on that. I just relive the moment.
Oh my God.
So I think for us, realizing and talking through things as we go into a season, knowing what we need to say no to, what we're going to say yes to. How do we have a successful or healthy sex life when things are different? Because, like we said, seasons are different. And how do we set our family unit up for success? And one of the things I would just encourage is so important is that vision gets talked about a lot in business context, in church context. But one of the things that I just really, 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 really encourage you to do is before you create a vision board for your life and for your business, please create one for your marriage and your family. Like, for us, there's so much that we've said no to and opportunities, for ministry or whatever, because it would have affected our family negatively. And when you get those right things in order, I just think God blesses priority order and not chaos. And so let's keep the main thing, and have that plan, because it makes it a whole lot easier, to say no to things when you actually have a plan for your family.
Yeah.
And what you say no to is really, really, really important. And we can even give you great examples of some of that. So a few of the resources that we want to really, really get to you is, one is Jimmy and Karen Evans and EXO Marriage. They released a resource that you can get online called the Vision Retreat guidebook.
Yeah, I think you can even get it off of Amazon.
Yeah, you can get it off of Amazon.
You can get it pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, it's a great resource. We've used that the most.
Majority.
The majority. And it's very, very detailed. I don't know if you're going to get into some of the details of it, but it is, I mean, it asks you, like, of all the different major categories in your life, from finances to intimacy to children raising to just goals that you have as a marriage.
Financial goals,
all those things. And so it kind of just walks you through it.
I think one of the things I really like about their book in particular is before you start talking about future things, it actually, I think part one is you're actually talking about, like, where are we at now? Mm-hmm. So what's an honest...
It's the reality of where we're at.
Yeah. So we can't always, like, project things if we're not honest about where we're at. And you always say, like, reality's your friend.
Yeah, and I think that's so good. And so, and I love that, because a lot of times what we come across in couples and have been in ourselves is that we were, what I would say, not happy or holding back with each other at times because we had not created space to actually talk about it. Mm-hmm. You know, and so when you don't create space to talk about your marriage, it'll come up passively, aggressively, in a fight, or all the time. And what that is very, it's very hard for your spouse, because a lot of times one spouse will think everything's great, mm-hmm. and then one spouse is holding back. So when it does come out, it feels like a complete shock.
Yeah.
Instead of, we're going to create a time that we're going to go through this together and really talk and open up our hearts to marriage. Mm-hmm. And so that's one resource. The other resource that is out there that actually our friends Sean and Lynette Reed have is a couple goals vision retreat book, mm-hmm. as well. And you can download that. And I think that's a free resource.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they were here back in, I think, the beginning of October, they put up a QR code, and I'm sure they have you can hit them up on Instagram or have some way to get access to that, because we just downloaded it for free, so it's free.
And we went through that one. I thought that was cool, because they go through the different rooms of a house and kind of list out different things and ask good questions.
Yeah, I think one of the things I really like about theirs is, if you haven't done this before, which is identify your values, mm-hmm. it's really, I think the first part of theirs is they do a really good job of helping the husband identify, like, what are your top 5 values, things that you value, everything from, like, security to friendship, mm-hmm. to what do you think, like, what's your priority as far as intimacy, like, it's detailed like that. And then the wife puts in her priorities, and then you get to put them together and see and shape what are our priorities. So I think they do a really good job of that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I thought it was good, and it was very interesting, where we aligned and then where our priorities are just different.
A couple were the same, and then there were a lot where it was like, no, we are very polar opposite on that.
Absolutely, within sex, for sure. Which is like, here's the deal.
Well, I was thinking about the social aspect.
Yeah, well, I'm always thinking about sex, so I don't.
Well, yeah.
But no, the social aspect. What was it? I can't remember. What was that?
I think that
tells you what I was thinking about.
Which I should have brought it, but I think it had to do with more so, like, what do you prioritize? Is it, being like hanging out with friends, or is it more like me time, or it had something to do, like, with that. I should have brought it so we could read it, but it was just, you're definitely more like, with my friends, like, you like to go out and be, very intentional, and I do too. But I think as far as, like, having to put them in order, I would say prioritizing, like, me time.
Yeah, you value very much me time. Yeah. I mean, is it me time, or is it you and Ruby time? I feel like it's you and Ruby time.
It's me and Ruby time.
Yeah, you and Ruby time.
But the
one thing about Ruby is she doesn't talk, and
she doesn't.
She doesn't. So
quiet. Well, I don't know. Lately, she's been kind of chirping.
She has been chirping. She's
got a little bossy in her old age.
Yeah, she is she's getting a little bit older, and she's getting a little bit more demonstrative. She was barking at me last night to take her out. She's like, I don't know. I was like, this is ridiculous. Dog. Yeah. So let's talk about, how do we plan a successful vision retreat, and just things that we've learned.
Yeah. I think for us, like I said, going back to what our counselors encouraged us to do. So I would say this would be ideal. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that this is the way somebody has to do it. I think, in my opinion, this is ideal. This is the way we've done it, I think, most times, if not every time.
Every time.
But we try to plan just a 2 or 3 day getaway. This doesn't have to be a week. It doesn't have to be in a tropical island. I mean, you're just essentially the goal is to get you out of your normal environment.
That's right.
To get you away from distractions. If you have children, to get you away from children, so it's not, constant interruptions. And so ideally what you like to do is get away for like 2 or 3 nights. And then I think incorporating some fun, so you're not just sitting across the room and looking at each other and going through this book. I would say one thing about Jimmy's book and Sean Lynette's is that you're not going to get this done in a day.
No, and you don't need to. You don't. I mean, that's not what the goal is.
Yeah, the goal is to take intentional time to really process, to really think through some of these prompts, so that you're not rushing through it. And so, what you and I like to do is we like to go away. So, we normally go to the mountains. And we'll set aside some time each day to kind of work on a few things. And that's like a little different. Like sometimes if we have a long drive, we'll work on it on the drive and then work on it again on the way home. But I think the main goal is just to get away. I would say for some of us who aren't necessarily great with talking about feelings of vulnerability, I think just as a heads up, that's going to be a lot of these conversations. And so I think for couples, if this is your first time doing it, just know you're going to have to get honest with each other. You're going to have to be vulnerable with each other. And so this is not, I would say, easy work to do. If you don't have the time, the resources, the capability to get out of town, I think it could be possible to do it maybe on a long weekend, setting aside some time. So I don't think there's necessarily a wrong way to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
I just think for you as a couple, it depends on your capacity, what you're able to do. But I think just setting aside some type of intentional time for a few days is what we try to do. And again, I know that we get to the beginning of a year and it's like, oh my gosh, what's my word for the year? What's my, goals for the year? And I think for us, we typically actually do it in October, October, November, because the beginning of the year can bring a lot of you're just hitting another gear. And if you have children, school's gearing back up. And so for us, we normally do it in October. I don't think there's a wrong time to do it. I mean, I think just start. I mean, you just got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's the normal rhythm of it, doing a normal rhythm where it happens around the same time every year is going to be really important to your family. I think it's really good to get the resource before you go away. And so that way the introvert or the processor can kind of be prepared, because I think that helps a lot, so that those people who are maybe not as self-aware can kind of dig into their feelings a little bit and dig into their heart. And so, that is true. And so what we like to do around it is we like to work on it. There's been times where we worked on it 2 hours a day, something like that. Lauren's right. We did a lot into driving this time.
Because I think the first time you do it, it's a lot to take in.
Yes, it is a ton.
I mean, it's a lot to take in general, because like I said, you're not trying to speed through it or just check off a box. And I think the other thing, for us at least, is there's usually one place that it's just a sensitive topic. And so for us, it's finances and money and budgeting and planning for those things. And so
it hasn't always been that. Before it was sex. So we had a lot of talk about sex. So I mean, but I would say every year there's somewhere that we just say, that's the thing that we need to work really on this year.
And that's the topic that generally can take us the longest to get through.
Yeah, and it got a little chappy.
It did.
On the car a little bit, but we worked through it, and that's because these types of things help you build trust with each other. And what we're doing when we go away on a trip like this is we're saying we're working on this together. So we're going to it. So that's kind of how we take it on, little bites by bites. I think it can get, if you're one of those people who like to check something off the list, if you're not careful, you'll get done with it and you wouldn't have been totally honest because you're just kind of plowing through it. So that's why it's important, I think, to pace yourself through it.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's okay to like tap out.
Yeah.
It's okay to say, all right, we just need to put it down. You know what I'm saying? Instead of like
take a
plowing.
break.
Yeah, let's take a break. And so obviously that's why we do a trip together. And some of y'all are probably thinking, well, that sounds no fun. Well, these are our most fun trips because we really do believe in having fun together. And so we love to eat. And so we like to go to our favorite places to eat. We like to have sex. And so we have lots of sex while we're gone, or that's my goal. And she obliges. And we have a good time together in that. And we really do rest and enjoy on those trips. And so, and that's the goal of the retreat, is for us to, I used to probably think of it as reconnection because of the season of life we were in, but I would say now we don't view it as reconnection. We view it as deeper connection. Instead of us trying to, and I think, again, it started with us talking about seasons at the beginning of the podcast. But there were seasons, man, when you're raising kids, it does feel like if I get away with Lauren, then we can reconnect, and that was absolutely great there. So if that's the season you're in, but I would look forward to those trips with everything in my being,
Yeah, we really did.
Now we're at a season of life that we look forward to them, but we're not trying to recoup something that we've lost because our children stole it from our very souls.
Well, I think that's the beautiful thing about just starting this journey, is that hopefully you're having compounding interest.
That's right.
So you're
good.
building on it, and it's not that every time you start this, you're having to start from the ground up.
Yeah.
You're continuing to build and grow together. I think one of the things that I think can come to the surface when you're doing this exercise is, like I said earlier, even early on in our marriage, there were a lot of things that I felt like on the same page about. And I think oftentimes we can agree on principle, but we might have a different idea on how to get there. And so I think this is what, doing a revision retreat can help you illuminate and discover about each other. Because like, even with what we referenced about finances and money, we, agree on principle.
Yeah, we had the same goal.
Almost everything.
Yeah.
It was just how we wanted to get there, maybe looked a little different because of a lot of things. Like, we manage money differently. There's just a lot of factors in there. And so I think ultimately whatever resource you use, hopefully it should help illuminate some of those areas where you thought you were on the same page and maybe you weren't, but you start working towards a goal or whatever that thing is that the Lord lays on your heart for that year. And you really can truly figure out, okay, well, we agree on principle, but maybe the pathway is a little different. So how can we get even more on the same page and even more in unity?
Yeah, I was honestly, I was just processing what you were saying, and I felt like the Lord reminded me of a statement that we've all heard: the devil's in the details. But I would also say to you, the blessing is in the details as well. And so, like, instead of thinking about from a negative perspective, I want you to understand that true unity exists in the details, not the end goal.
Yeah.
And so, especially with a husband and wife, so it's really important to have practices that help us really get down to the details of how we're going to walk this out, so that we can get the best out of each other and really get to the meat. Because I would agree, like, very rarely, I can't think of that many times that our goal has not been the same.
Yeah.
But the problem is that we're called to walk beside each other to the goal. And if our way of getting to the goal is separate, then somebody's got to yield. And in fact, we both do, And so I think for us, what we've learned through this practice is, our goals 90%, a huge percentage of the time was the same. The problem is that we would really have a lot of division in how we got there, which causes tremendous tension that does not have to exist.
Yeah.
And so, it really has been a practice in our life. I did just, it's actually not in our notes, but I was processing, the vision retreat. One of the things that we were really taught, and it has helped us, is as what I think is a really good rhythm for couples. And again, going back to seasons, it doesn't always need to look the same. So, but in this season, we're 46, and Lauren
I'll be 44 this week.
She's 44 and fine.
Fragile.
That's
an inside joke with some of our friends. They're like, we're 40 and fragile.
The boys are ready. I'm ready. I'm making your favorite meal tomorrow night.
I can't wait.
Yes. Crumble's got a Martha Stewart line up. We're going to get, anyway. What was I talking about? Oh, rhythms of marriage. So like in this season of life, we don't have to have a babysitter to leave the kids. Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
So we do try to do a date night a week. That has not been reasonable at all in seasons past because of finances or just because of busyness. But I would even say when we had low finances, we would try to do a regular date night. So that's something that is regularly and has happened in our marriage for many, many years, just a regular date night.
And that can look a million different ways.
Yeah, we try to connect with each other daily on a walk. We do our wows, worries, wishes, wounds, which we've talked about, and wisdom many times, 4 or 5 times a week. And so that's daily, weekly date night, or regular date night.
Some kind of consistency.
Yeah, for sure. And that's just really, really important. We try to do, a trip a quarter if we can together. Maybe it's a one-night getaway.
Just us.
Just us. The kids be gone in the name of Jesus.
Which don't feel bad for them because we take them on trips too.
No, and we say we and I don't really care if you feel bad for them or not. I don't. The truth is, the greatest gift we can give them is a mom and dad who are madly in love with each other. That is the greatest gift. I mean, there's nothing that we can do for them, any trips we can do for them that will be a better gift than that. And so we definitely schedule our time together before we schedule our family. And that's because we schedule out of priority order. But we try to do that. That hasn't always existed, but we really work hard at that. Like, we really have worked hard at, like, let's get a night away. Let's go, have some fun together. Let's do that stuff. And so we try to do that once a quarter. And one of those quarter getaways is the vision retreat. That is usually a little bit extended. I think, man, it took us, how long did it take us to leave the kids for a week for a vacation just for you and I?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I think it was just the last few years that we've been able to do that, right?
Yeah. I mean, David had some health challenges when he was a baby and young. And so, I mean, we couldn't leave him because he had to be on medicine every 8 hours. So, I mean, we really felt like really couldn't leave him. And I don't know. It's not been too long. I mean, I think I just want to add this in. It's never too early. Like, if you're not married and you're an individual, I don't think it's ever too early to create vision for your life.
Oh, that's so good.
But I think it's also never too late.
Yeah.
Like, if you're somebody and you and your spouse have been married for 30, 40, 50 years and you've never done this, it's never too late. So just
good.
start where you are at the season of life that you're in.
Yeah, and I think, for those that are single and you're like, hey, I want a vision for my life, just what I would tell you is probably something very different than what a lot of people would tell you. I would just say, with the vision that you feel in the future, I don't hold that tightly, because what I know is whenever I'm talking about vision for my life, God knows perfectly. I know imperfectly. So whatever I see, I don't see it perfectly. And it will evolve. And I know that's a word we don't like to use in church, but it's a really important word when God brings a spouse into my life. And so, because it's a new us and he's sculpting. What is important is to really know what values you hold, which is really, really important, because that'll shape the spouse and who you're looking for in a spouse. If you don't know your values, then a lot of times you'll morph into something trying to get somebody instead of knowing and being secure.
Or compromise.
And so, but I agree with Lauren. Like, I mean, there's so much that we have discovered later on in our life that our heart, in a lot of these podcasts, we can't speak to people who are in front of us, like people who are further down the road than us. I mean, we can share some godly wisdom, but We don't know some things, obviously,
No, we
but what
definitely don't.
this whole podcast is revolving around are those couples that have been married 10 years or getting married or married 2 or 3 years or young children. That, man, if we could go back in time, these are the things that we would do because it's produced the most life in us.
Yeah.
And it's been beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's also for, somebody who, my internal makeup is like, oh, I wish I would have done this different, or I should have done this, or man, I really wish we would have done counseling earlier. I would just say too, I think our experience, because like I said, I don't think we started this practice until we had, been married for 14 or 15 years. Yeah. Even though there's a lot of things that, now hindsight, I wish we would have done differently. Those are also the circumstances and the experiences and the hardships that we face that shaped who we are. And so I just think, again, I just want to encourage anybody who's in a season where you're like, oh man, I really miss that. We've been married for however many years and we've really missed the mark on that. You haven't.
Yeah.
God can redeem anything.
Yes.
And so just trust him with it and just start where you are.
And honestly, the ministry that we have today and the ministry we desire to have or feel like God's birthing in us for the future, I don't think we would understand the beauty and joy of it if we hadn't walked through the pain. And I think that, if that pain that we walk through helps us appreciate where we're at more now and helps really other people be able to learn from that, then it's worth it. And I think that's what this story is. I don't think marriage is meant to be complicated. I think that it's hard. It's hard because it's two people's wills submitting really not to each other only. We're going to talk about that in the next podcast.
Mutual submission.
Mutual submission. So that should be fun.
What a fun topic.
But it's also about us just submitting to God's will. And that's really hard. I was speaking recently. It's really easy to preach about the cross. It's really easy to talk about, crucifixion and living the crucified life. What's crazy is the people who talk about it the most are rarely the ones who actually get on the cross. And there's something in us that just doesn't want to get on the cross. So we feel fine talking about it. We feel fine preaching about it. But somehow our flesh figures out how to live. And maybe there's no greater evidence of that than in our marriage. And part of this exercise is us bringing to light what needs to die in us so that we can move forward as a couple.
Yeah. I think the other thing, too, I want to make sure I mention for all my type A personalities.
Lord, help us.
It's so fun being a type A.
It's so fun being married to one.
Oh, so kind. Eye roll, insert eye roll. I think for those of us that, like to check off things and, are very driven personalities, for all the Enneagram 3s or achievers, I think a misstep in doing this process can be, let's just make aspirations. Let's just make goals. Let's just make financial decisions on how we can make the most money. And I think if we're going into it with that in mind, we've totally missed it. Because there can be, and I know Sean and Lynette touched on this when they were here, you can have a lot of good ideas, but unless it's a God-breathed idea, it's worth nothing.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I think what we have found is when we're doing these exercises and trying to really hear from the Lord, even when it comes to like hard conversations, like for us around finances and money, around conflict, around extended family, around whatever that hard topic is for you, most often it's a both and conversation, not an either or conversation. So it's not that like when we're talking about things, it's either Lauren's way or Aaron's way.
It's God's way.
It's God's way. And us getting into alignment, which is what you mentioned a minute ago, us getting into alignment with what is God saying we need to do in our marriage? What is God saying needs to shift, happen, change, illuminate in our family?
Yeah, I think it's really powerful, Il. I think we're very much against systems for system's sake. So what you're hearing her say, for those who aren't type A, is that actually God's voice needs to matter, and how you find God's voice is in the wrestling between each other. I don't hear God's voice perfectly. She doesn't. And so there's that place where we have to work together to hear God for us. Talking about finances. We talked a lot on this trip about finances and our goals, and and we both listened to Dave Ramsey. I mean, we've heard him for years. The problem and the concern I have with Dave Ramsey is it's a system. It doesn't necessarily mean it's God's voice. And so if we're not careful, we put systems in place instead of really leaning into the voice of God and what he's saying for our family and for this season. And that is by far the most important thing. But setting aside time to hear his voice, to come together in unity, it releases great blessing in your life. And so, when we get to this place, it really concerns me, because we have so many people today that they understand vision for the business, they understand vision for their finances, they understand all that, but they've never considered vision for their marriage and their family. And what it already means is that we're worshiping the wrong idol. And so, at the end of the day, if I create, and I had to come to this place for the church. I was like, man, if I've got vision for the church, but I don't have vision for my marriage, what am I doing? And it means that the church holds a place in my life out of priority. I think I've said it before, but I heard this quote, that Christ died for his bride, so Aaron died for yours. And I think that if we're not careful, we focus so much on moving the ball forward with things we cannot take with us, instead of realizing, hey, what good is it if a man gains the whole world but loses his soul? I want to share this passage of scripture that's just been really meaning something to me. And you're probably going to hear it echoed in a message, or I don't know. There ain't no telling, because I've come across it and shared it.
It's deep in there.
Yeah, it's Hebrews chapter 2, and it's verse 1. And it's just this one verse that just, and it's talking about so much. But the writer of Hebrews says this: therefore we must give the more earnest heed to the things we have heard, lest we drift away. Therefore we must give. So we must lean to, we must stop and pause. We must give the more earnest heed to something, to really keep it before us, to the things we have heard, lest we drift away. And this is what we're trying to say to you, is that it's easy to drift.
Slowly.
Yeah, I've never seen, maybe some rare occasions that I just saw something shift on the dime, but if you go back, there was a slow drift. And it takes intentionality to live a drift-free marriage. And so, man, vision for your family, vision for your marriage helps you get into unity, cling to each other is what the Bible talks about, so that we don't drift from where God's calling us.
Amen.
Amen.